At the end of every day, look at yourself in the mirror and ask, did I get better today? Monday, get better. Tuesday, get better. Wednesday, get better. If you do that for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, how much better will you be? Are you getting better every single day? That's the real question. And it all comes down to taking small steps. You don't have to accomplish everything in one day or even 1 week. Just focus on getting a little better every single day.
And welcome back to another episode of Real Estate AF, where the AF stands for And Finance. And I'm your host, Mark Jones, and we are powered by LoanBot. Smarter mortgage matching now available on the App Store and Google Play. And first off, I want to wish everybody a happy new year. This is going to be a special episode with a special guest. And as I introduce this guest, I think it's probably customary that I pop this bad boy. Let's see if I can do it without breaking stuff.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
That's what they say. Okay, we made it work. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce Kimberly Howell. Kimberly, how are you?
Hello. Good to see you. I'm super excited, and I love you're starting out the podcast with a toast with champagne.
Just
that
a little bit of something.
I love it.
I noticed on yours that you guys started out with a couple of shots.
Yes, we do Platinum Patron.
I love it.
That is my favorite cocktail, if you will.
Absolutely.
And so we always, every guest so far, we're doing a shot of the silver, not silver, Platinum Patron. So we
That's
started
awesome.
off with that, and it seems to kind of help things along, if you know what I mean.
I tell you what, we actually did the same thing our first maybe 100 episodes. Cheers.
Awesome.
And it helped not only me, but the guests kind of calm it down.
So far, literally every guest has said that. They said, you know what, because I had told them, I said, it'll be fine. I said, we're going to do a shot and you're going to be good. And they're like, And then a lot of them said, they were fine until about like right before we were starting. And then the reality of it. And then they said, oh my gosh, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't talk. They were really scared. But then they did the shot. And like I said, that Platinum Patron is so smooth. I mean, it's like butter.
Butter.
It just goes down. And literally they said, as soon as that went in, they were like, oh my gosh. And then it's kind of like your studio in the fact it's dark.
Yes.
It's cozy.
Yep.
It feels really, inviting.
Intimate. Yes.
Intimate, inviting. And I think people kind of like, oh, okay, they damp down and they're like, you know what? I'm kind of vibing with this.
That's right.
And then you get a little tequila on board and it's like, okay,
Liquid courage.
And then it's good. So
That's
anyway,
right.
But no, awesome.
So cheers to your new podcast. For those listening, we've got Feral and Fabulous featuring our wonderful lady here. And you guys should check that out. But we're not here to talk about your show today. We're here to allow me to pry a little bit.
Okay.
With Kimberly Howell, who's been in the business for quite some time now.
Since dirt, I always say.
Since dirt. That's awesome. So Kimberly, if you could just tell our guests about you in general, and you can sum it up because I'm going to dig deep in this one.
Okay, cool. I would just start by saying I actually grew up in San Antonio. I moved here when I was in first grade.
Okay.
My dad had been an attorney for, I think, Pyramid Life. And
Okay.
so we had been, I was born in Little Rock, Arkansas. We moved to Columbus, Ohio very briefly. And then we came to San Antonio when I was in the first grade. So been here most of my life, or at least the part that I remember anyway. So, that's the deal on that. My dad had left being an attorney and decided to go into the building business. My grandparents, his parents, put him or set him up in the building business. And so he started building homes in, Inspiration Hills, Wellesley Manor. I'm trying to think, Village d'Orleans, multiple subdivisions across San Antonio. And so growing up in that business, I was used to being around, homes being built, being out on construction sites, that kind of thing. And so I think it was kind of like a natural evolution to kind of like eventually sit on site for my dad. And so I cut my teeth on sitting on site, with the new construction. And then it came time to go to college. And I was like, okay, I don't know that I want to do the family business anymore. I think I want to do something different, So I went and got my degree in, actually, I got my degree in business data systems and accounting.
Okay.
If you can imagine that.
Nerd.
Whatever. I have no idea why I picked that, But anyway, so I graduated from UTSA, got a job at Southwest Research Institute, and I was there for many years, and then absolutely did not like that job. I was a senior research analyst.
Okay.
And so I did a lot of analytical work. Obviously, I was in the mechanical and fluids engineering division, which I think originally was the physics division. Anyway, so it was a lot of very dry material.
Yeah.
Anyway, didn't really match my personality. I was really kind of miserable. But interestingly enough, when I was there, one of the other engineers that I worked with, Renee Penner, she's actually on my real estate team.
Very cool.
And she's been one of my agents on the team for over 10 years. And so we kind of became fast friends. And I was like, you know what? After being there many years, I'm like, I think I'm going to go back into the family business, so to speak. And so that's kind of how I transitioned back out and got my license. And even though I had worked on site, you don't have to have a license to work on site. And so I had gotten my license. And then in the 90s, then the rest is history.
Absolutely. And the history, that's the part that I want to get into today. So you've been in the industry for now over 20 years?
Oh, like 35. Yeah.
Wow.
Long time. Yeah. If you count my on-site, the on-site.
Yes.
Time. Yeah.
And you've seen a lot of changes throughout our industry. And
sure.
that is one of the pieces that I will get into a little bit later. But before we do, I kind of want to talk about, as you became a new agent, obviously you had a little bit of sense of what's going on because of the background with your family business.
Sure.
As a producing agent, was there, what from that helped you in this business day one? Or was it tough jumping in day one?
I think the background did help. I feel like even sitting on site, even as a kid, I was like 16, 17, 18 when I was sitting on site. Yeah. And so I feel like I get used to talking to agents. I would sit out at the model, and then agents would come in. And so I kind of got to observe how they did their business without actually being in that business, per se. And so I feel like, sometimes when you shadow somebody.
Oh my goodness. We talk about this quite often, and it's always the veteran agents, the veteran brokers that bring up the concept of shadowing and learning and soaking up things. But for some odd reason, you're not seeing a lot of that with these newer agents.
No, you know what? That's an interesting dynamic that we should talk about, because you're right. I think in the beginning, that is how I learned.
Same here.
I learned from observation, and I would watch what other agents would do. And in fact, I remember when I wrote my first contract, I was really kind of like freaking out, and I had them up in the conference room. I'd been showing them, properties. In fact, they were buying a condo.
Okay.
And the condo had a different contract than a, single family. So I was just like, oh my God. And my clients were up in the like I said, in the meeting room. And so I go to the back, and I shared an office with a couple of other agents.
Okay.
And I remember Shelly, she had the office next to me, or the desk next to me. I went through her, and I was looking at a contract on top of her desk. And I'm like, okay, she put this there, but it was a single family, not a condo contract. Right. So I'm like, okay, that's different on this contract. I'm like, oh my God. But I was looking to see what she had done. And then I went back in there, and God bless that family, because obviously,
agents, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And I was cutting my teeth on them. But, I watched how she had written her contract up, and then I did it myself. But then I would also listen on the phone, like when they were in the office talking, I would see, okay, how are they talking to the clients? What are they saying? What's the context? That kind of thing. And the cool thing is, I didn't just learn from one person.
Right.
I learned from a lot of different people. And so what I have learned kind of to do is I would take whatever one person says and pick the things that I felt comfortable making my own. And you know how sometimes somebody may do a presentation or say something, you're like, oh, I love that concept, but maybe not the exact words that they use, because you just don't feel comfortable saying those words. Maybe that word's not a word you would normally use.
Right.
So you find the word in your own vocabulary that kind of like makes sense. And you're like, okay, I'm going to then trade that out. And then I feel very comfortable making that statement, because I feel like it kind of aligns with what I would normally say, or how I would talk about something.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And I can relate to that because back in 2012, when I got into the industry, I had and was surrounded by top producers in our office back with Academy Mortgage. We had Adrian Trevino, Hector Argametto. I mean, it was just a bunch of top producers that I was thrown into this lion's den, right?
Yeah.
So like you said, I would take things from each of them, and my way of going about things is a little bit more woo in your face.
Yeah.
So I would take that and adopt it and make it into mine. So now when I tell people, like I'll say something that makes perfect sense and somebody will say, you know what, I'm going to use that. I will say, if you stole it from me, you stole it twice.
Yes.
You know?
Absolutely. Oh, isn't that so true?
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
So now that we kind of went on a little tangent there for a moment, I want to get back to your journey.
Keep me on track.
I got you.
I'm the queen of tangents.
Yeah, I got you. So the journey of becoming a realtor, that's a funny word.
Yes, it
we
is.
won't get into that. Then progressing your career, at a certain point, you decided to do your own thing.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Yeah.
What culminated to giving you the confidence, the motivation, the funds, the bandwidth to go off and do that?
Well, if you're talking about, because I had been originally an agent, obvious with Howell Properties.
Right.
That was where I kind of started. And then we sold Howell Properties to Keller Williams on Blanco Road.
Okay.
This is you guys.
Oh yeah, Blanco 1604.
You
Absolutely.
remember back in the days. Anyway, so that was in 1997. So I stayed with Keller Williams from 1997, and then broke off on my own in the early 2000s. And so I had Kimberly Howell Properties. Basically, initially it was actually San Antonio Avalar, which was a franchise.
Okay.
But then we morphed into Kimberly Howell Properties. And so basically I had a brokerage for about 20 years.
Okay.
And then just recently, earlier this year, went back home again because here's what's crazy about it is 21 years ago, I had been with Keller Williams Legacy, the office on Sonterra, which is where we still are. And Stephen Gregg and I had met in January of this year and had a conversation. He's like, hey, how about coming back home? Although for 20 years, Stephen Gregg and I had a conversation almost every year for 20 years. Hey, how about coming back home? And I just wasn't ready, right?
Gotcha, yes.
And so this year we had the conversation and things shifted and things were a little different. So I was like, hey, and he said, you're not going to believe this, but your old office is available.
Wow.
So my old office was available from 21 years ago.
How cool.
So it was kind of like a sign, you know what I mean? And so that's kind of what happened or evolved as to when I had come back. But I think the thing that happened and I love Keller Williams. I was really happy at Keller Williams Legacy. It really had nothing to do with the office.
Sure.
I think it was just, I was at the point in my career where I had a mega office, a mega team.
Yes.
So we were functioning off site. So we were already, I had been at the main office at the mothership, so to speak.
Right.
Then I had branched off. I had gotten my own office. So I'm like, okay, I've already got my own office as a mega team. So it's like, okay, I've already got my copier. I've got an office. So I started thinking, well, maybe we just do this as a brokerage, you know? And so then that's kind of how things morphed from there. And then I just started recruiting agents. And then at one point we had gotten up to like 125 agents at the largest point. And then of course came 2007, 2008.
Yep.
And we all know what happened during those.
We do. Now, I was not in the industry at that time. So if you could share what your experience was at that time.
Oh my gosh, it was brutal. I mean, it was really, because I had been doing it for a while at that time. And the crazy thing is I had just gone off on my own and opened up a brokerage.
Right.
So to go from, and again, we had built up and we were doing well, but when that hit, I remember just agents leaving the industry because they just couldn't sustain themselves during that time. Not only that, but I think we had lending, and I know you weren't in lending yet, but I mean, it was crazy. And I've talked about this story before. We would have deals, and this happened to me actually on one of my listings that I had in Champions Ridge. We closed on a Friday of a holiday weekend. And I can't remember what holiday it was, but it was during that time period of like 2000, I would say, kind of really got crazy in 2008.
2008, end of 2008, right into 2009 when it was like,
that was when it went really
Yep.
crazy. Okay. And so it was during that time, we closed on a Friday. Everybody closed. It was my listing. My sellers closed, the buyers closed, everything was good, but they didn't get it funded that Friday. You know, it was late in the day
Absolutely,
and
yeah.
it just didn't work out timing wise. So we're like, okay, we'll have to wait until Tuesday because Monday was a holiday. So we're like, okay, fine, no problem. So got through the weekend, everybody anxiously on Tuesday morning, mortgage company was out of business by Tuesday morning and they did not fund it.
wow.
So literally there was no deal. Like it fell apart completely and we had to start all over, which we did. And it did work out.
Right.
But that kind of thing where literally lenders were going out of business, like one day they're in business originating and the next day they're out of business.
Completely
Gone. Like nobody to even talk to.
Right.
I mean, it was so crazy, so scary. So I feel like that was pretty brutal. It was really the uncertainty of it. And we didn't know how long it was going to last. I mean, it was just entities were collapsing. I mean, it was a really scary time. And you almost were afraid to watch the news because, of course, you know, and this is not to throw the news under the bus, but if
Let's throw them.
Okay. But if it bleeds, it leads.
That's right.
And so, you know, there was a lot of that going on. And so I think fear, and that's another thing that I think influences our industry in real estate is people get fearful.
Yes.
And when the news outlets are promoting fear mongering,
Absolutely.
then they buy into that. And because I've learned over the years, when people are scared, they turn in to watch more.
Absolutely.
Because the fear
wow, that's so true.
Fear breeds fear, right?
Yes.
And so I feel like it has impacted greatly the real estate business, financing, all of that over the years as to what the headlines are. And the sad thing is sometimes there's a grain of truth to the headlines. I'm not saying that they're made up, but sometimes the basis is not really what they're talking about at all. They just take the thing that scares people the most and they blast it continuously because I feel like people's neurons can just absorb that. And they're like, I'm scared. I want to watch more because I feel the need to keep aligned with whatever I'm hearing because everybody else is scared about it too. And we're all in this together. And so I feel like that can be kind of a feral,
absolutely.
that can be a feral thing to happen in any industry.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now I want to give the listeners out there just a quick reminder. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. And what I mean by that is the deal is never done until it's funded. And that's to her story in that. Now, digging a little deeper into this media thing, this is going to be a tangent for us because I think it deserves to be talked about. I recently saw a post, matter of fact, it was day before yesterday, about the, Logan Paul fight, something like that? Jake Paul, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah. Jake Paul fight, and the idea of he lost, he got his jaw broken, but he made double, triple what the other guy made. So it almost proves the point that the new currency is almost entertainment shock value, just like you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I feel as though we just spoke about the 2008 crash.
Yeah.
The media is doing a great job of making us feel like the market we're in is similar to what we went through.
Yes.
Would you agree?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yes.
So that being the case, what are, let's say, some advice that you would give to those out there, home buyers, home shoppers, home owners, including realtors, as far as the media, what their customers are seeing, because there is no way around it. They're going to find it one way or another.
Yep. It's everywhere.
That's right. In regards to what reality is.
Right. Wow. That's a great question. And I'm going to have to think about that for a second because I feel like it's education is key. I feel like education is key. The problem is the education, the breadth of the education, you can't always control the breadth of it, right? True. I mean, you can attempt to and get the word out, but I feel like sometimes it's almost like a conversation you have to have one-on-one with someone, just because I feel like there's so many misconceptions out there that you can't, you can make a blanket statement. It's not really what they're saying.
Right.
But what do you mean by it's not really what they're saying? And so In what regard? Because what Jane might be scared about might not be what Dick is scared about, what, Joe is scared about. Everybody might be scared about a different component of what they've got you scared about,
That's very true.
And so you have to almost customize the conversation, tailor it to be something that's going to resonate with the person that's having the concern.
That's very true.
And so I think it's although you can do it in mass, you have to do it where you touch on a lot of different potential concerns that people are having to try and address multiple different things. Because like I said, what I've learned, especially this last year, when I've been talking to clients, it's been interesting how different their concerns are. Some of them are similar,
right?
But some of them are actually very different. And sometimes I'm talking to somebody and they're like, I'm really concerned about this. And I'm like, wow, I hadn't really thought about going down that rabbit hole. That perspective, because I haven't been in that situation, or I haven't had another client that necessarily aligned with what their concerns were.
True.
And so I was like, wow, you know what? That's a great point. Hadn't really thought about that particular rabbit hole. But I respect that rabbit hole now that you're telling me. I can see why you'd be concerned about that. But this is the deal, or this is my take on that. But again, what I've learned is it doesn't necessarily meet every single person's concern.
Right.
Because I've had a lot of different sellers this last year. Estates have been a thing. I feel like, and this is not to go down that rabbit hole, but since COVID, I feel like a lot of people have passed away, a larger number of people. So that's created a lot more of estate sales than what we have had. And the thing is, it's sad, but it's just the reality.
Yeah.
And so when you have an estate, one thing I've learned, because I do work a lot of estate business, I have a lot of attorneys that I work with, and they have people that are dealing with estates. And so definitely it's been interesting, because a lot of times you have the executor typically,
right? But
then you will have a lot of siblings, or you will have a lot of family
all the
members.
Infighting.
Yes. And so that has created, I feel like since COVID, I feel like I have seen a lot more estates. I've seen a lot more infighting of deals where you can have, like I even had one situation where you had two brothers and two sisters. They were selling the property. Their parents had passed. And the two brothers kind of aligned in their thinking. The two sisters were aligned in their thinking. But the two sisters and the two brothers were absolutely not in agreement on anything.
Wow.
Like nothing.
Wow. And
And so I just feel like we've had a lot more, in a weird sort of way, complicated deals.
Yeah.
And I think through, again, people passing away, I think, or somebody that is now single because they've, lost their spouse, they are having to navigate this real estate world right now without their partner, without their, child, whatever it happens to be.
You're right.
I just feel like people have been under a lot more duress.
Yes.
Since COVID, I feel like, and not to say it's necessarily directly the reason.
It's just the time period. Yeah.
It's the time
reference
period.
point.
It's a reference point. Yeah. There is an association, I think, definitely. But I think that what happened to us during COVID, I feel like, because now we talk about COVID differently. Obviously, in the beginning, it was like this big, scary, looming thing, right? And now, not so much. I mean, we still are appreciative of, hey, it's something we have to be careful of whatnot. But they have better treatments. It's more manageable now than it was before. But I do feel like there's been a fallout in this industry that I think was probably in great part a result of that.
Yeah.
And so I feel like people have had personal challenges as a result that maybe were a little different than they would have had otherwise.
Yeah, no, that's, wow, a great answer for that. And it gave me more perspective on it as well. In regards to things have changed since COVID, I believe you are correct. That COVID, good or bad, that was the thing that held those interest rates low for as long as they did.
Yes.
That is the one thing that made our real estate market thrive for 2 years straight.
Absolutely.
I mean, never made more money, never helped more people in a short period of time, personally.
For sure.
And now that we're fast forwarding into today's world,
right?
And you correct me if I'm wrong, and then we'll get back to your journey, but I would go as far as to say that the folks that are buying right now, and almost for the past year or almost 2 years, are the folks that could not buy in the 2020, 2021 period of time.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You nailed it. That is, I think, the dynamic in a nutshell of what we're seeing.
Right.
For sure.
Very good. Okay, so let's get back to your journey. You open the brokerage.
Yes.
You're trucking along. And then all of a sudden you've got working with clients that are San Antonio Spurs. You're working with the big dogs.
Yes.
How did that come to be and what was that like?
Oh, that was super fun. Just a great time in my career. And I love, like I said, and personally as well. I mean, just a great fun time. I actually met the lady that was kind of heading up that organization at the time. And I am a CRP, which is Certified Relocation Professional. So I don't know how many in San Antonio. I'm going to say maybe there's a dozen. I don't know for sure, but not many. But anyway.
It's funny that you mentioned that. JC, if you could throw up on the screen real quick.
Oh my gosh.
This is so funny. So when I was doing my research on the side, let's see if I can find it. There it is. I said, what the heck are all of these things? What are all these designations? BBA, CRP, ABR, CRS, GRI, Green, Renee, AKA she's the HBIC right now.
Well, I don't know about that.
You can kill it.
But definitely at the time, my CRP, my BBA, of course, my Bachelor of Business Administration, but my CRP really factored in because she was like, you help people relocate. And so a lot of my business came from corporate relocation. So that meant that I was really working with a lot of corporate executives that were moving in from everywhere. Doesn't matter. New York, California, Florida, wherever. It doesn't matter because corporations exist everywhere. Right. And so they would move their CEOs and their, all the different people that worked in the organization. When I first got into real estate and relocation, the companies were moving people a lot more. You don't find that, especially since COVID. That's a whole nother story.
Very true, yes.
But back in the day, there was a ton of relocation going on. So I had a lot of corporate relocation accounts. So I would fly out to different cities to meet with the headquarters of the different relocation companies.
Right.
So I had acquired a lot of different accounts. And so this lady that was working for the Spurs, she reached out to me. She's like, hey, I see that you're doing all this corporate relocation. She said, I'd love to get you involved in the Spurs. I'm like, oh, I'd love that. That'd be amazing, right? So, and because I was already used to moving people from other places across the world, because a lot of those were international companies, so they would sometimes come from Italy or wherever, And so I think she felt like, hey, this would be a good fit because you're already kind of in that world.
Right.
And this would just be applying it to a basketball team.
Absolutely. And so, in addition, it comes along with a prestige. It comes along with a higher level of customer service, a lot higher level of listening, a higher level of, and I don't want to say catering because you're still the expert in that instance, but if you throw that responsibility on even an experienced agent that hasn't dealt with those kind of situations, who knows how that will turn out.
Right. Right. And I feel like that was probably where she was thinking, hey, it would be a fit. And so again, I dipped my toe into that water, started working with, I worked with Monty Ginobili when he first moved to San Antonio, and then many of the guys, on the team. And so, and Fabrizio Berto, who I just adore. I met, he came along, a little bit later after Manu, but the guys, and many of the guys that I worked with, and I met their wives or their girlfriends or whoever, and we became fast friends. And so, 20 years later, we're all still friends. Like I'm still friends with Francisco Elson, and he's over in, he lives in Holland, I think. Anyway, Amsterdam, I'm not sure. But anyway, he and I will, over the holidays, because one holiday, it was on Christmas Eve, Francisco Elson came over to our house, and he was like Santa Claus for all the kids that were there at my house, And so they climbed up on his lap, and he could not have been nicer. And just, that's the one thing I will say is the Spurs organization has always been top notch. I mean, just what a
I
class
agree.
organization
Yeah.
and just amazing people. And just, like I said, I'm so blessed. And I look back and just think, oh my gosh, I have all these amazing friends that I've kept all these years. And I haven't worked with the team in many years,
Sure.
several years now, but it was a good 12-year run or however long it
Absolutely,
was.
yeah.
And so just so great. And like I said, just nothing I would trade for the world.
So
And
I remember back, it was 2012 or 2013. I was new in the industry, and we talked about this before we got on here, but I had Michael Kingsbury. I had just picked him up on my team. Shout out to Michael Kingsbury. I hope you're doing well. So he came to me and said, hey, I've got a little in with Kimberly Howell in her office, and we're going to look at getting a desk rental, et cetera, et cetera. And I had no idea who you were at that time. I was still wet behind the ears, but I was the guy that came in and gave the presentations, and I was good at it. So after giving one of the presentations at your office, Michael tells me, hey, you did a great job. I just want you to know we're about to work on, I think it was maybe Malik Rose's.
Probably. Yeah, I can't remember. I mean, certainly he would have been one of them. And I think George, I'm trying to think who all. Anyway, yes, definitely.
So he says, so you did a great job on the presentation. I just want you to know we're getting ready to work on Malik Rose's deal.
Yeah.
And I went, what? Like, what kind of office am I in here? Like, holy cow.
Yeah.
It was just a cool experience to be able to be around that at such an early part in my career.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
So as you grew, lost people, gained people, shifted with the markets, with having the brokerage, you mentioned that you recently went back to Keller Williams.
Yeah.
And I want to ask, has that anything to do with the market shifting and the way things are going? And the reason why I say that is because we've had, similar to 2008, 2009, a pretty large exodus of realtors in the industry and lenders in the industry.
Yeah.
Did that shift have anything to do with that?
You know, I would say a small part, because ironically, I don't think I predicted at the time I made the decision. I don't think I predicted what happened this year would happen.
Wow.
So that's what that makes it even crazier, you know? And so what was weird about that is we had been on Gathering Oak for 20 years. Okay. We had an office on Gathering Oak. We had been in 3 different offices on Gathering Oak. But we were literally in we were in 2 different buildings, but 3 different offices, right? So we just kept moving as our size, changed, we moved to different needs, whatever. Anyway, so 20 years on the same street at a brokerage. And so our lease was going to be up in February of this year.
Okay.
So starting, this is what makes the whole thing so crazy, is starting in September of last year, we had some agents that did commercial. So we started looking for some more commercial space. We had decided that we were going to part ways. John McNair had owned the building that we were in. Right. And so he had been my landlord for most of the 20 years I was on Gathering Oak. I was always renting from John McNair.
Okay.
Great landlord, great guy, love him.
The
McNair,
builder, right?
Yeah, the builder,
absolutely.
McNair Custom Homes. Anyway, so we had a
green sign. I can see it now.
Exactly. I'm so glad you know that the green sign. He'll be very happy to hear that. So, but anyway, no, great guy. And he was, again, he owned McNair Custom Homes, but he also owned the buildings on Blanco as well.
Smart man.
So we were renting from him for, like I said, almost 17 of the 20 years.
So you basically paid that building off, by the way.
I did. I should have. And he laughs now because he's like, you should have bought it from me a long time ago. I'm like, I know. But what can I say? It is what it is. Well, he sold that building about 3 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So some owners from California took over, and let's just say it wasn't the same. And so they were, absent owners because they were in California and they did it from afar.
Yeah.
And so we went like the whole month of July without a working HVAC unit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
July in Texas. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was last year in 2024. Okay. Yeah. So no working HVAC. And so that was really a problem, you can imagine.
Absolutely.
And so then going into last winter, we went without heat. And so we'd be holding our office meetings in the back, and you could literally see the air as we breathed. No, I'm not kidding you. Crazy, right?
I believe it.
So anyway, so we were kind of like, okay, you know what? It's been a good run. We've been here for 20 years. We're going to find another space. So we started looking. We had some commercial agents looking. And of course, word gets out on the street that let's face it. What is it? What's the saying? Telephone, telegraph, tell a realtor. I mean,
I've never heard that, but that's awesome.
Well, I'm just saying.
It'll get out there.
It's a thing, right? Okay. So last year we started our trek. And so a lot of the agents at the office that had been with me for years, because I've had agents that had been with me, like 18, some even almost the whole time, right? And so we were actively looking. So we thought we'd found an office, and then they couldn't have it ready in time. There was going to be too much, like we were going to go 4 months without our own office. We're like, that's going to be crazy. So anyway, then we thought we'd found a second office, and we were literally getting ready to sign the lease. And then they pulled it from us and said, no, we're going to lease to somebody else. And we're like, yeah, we'd already done that. We were having finish out done. No. You can't make this stuff up. Literally, we were getting ready to sign. Didn't happen. Okay. So by now, I'm starting to kind of panic a little bit because we're a couple of months from having to be out of our office. And we think we found the third office. Then they pulled a rope-a-dope on us on a Monday after we thought we were going to be signing with them. And then they changed it. They changed the amount they were going to say, well, we miscalculated in what we told you. And I'm like, you are kidding me.
Wow.
So crazy thing is that this weird thing happened. My son had an accident and he had fallen out of his wheelchair. He had to be taken by EMS to Stone Oak Methodist. So this is in January of this year. So I'm kind of panicking, and my husband, Dave, calls me and says, hey, Stephen's going by ambulance to the hospital. I'll meet you all over there, right? So as I'm driving to Stone Oak Methodist, and he turned out to be fine, so everything's all good with that.
Okay, good.
But the whole point of the story is, as I'm driving to Stone Oak Methodist, I go down Sonterra, and as I'm turning into Stone Oak Methodist, I look over, and there is Keller Williams Legacy, my old office that I just haven't seen it, thought about it, whatever, and I see it as I'm turning in going, oh, there's my old office, whatever, not thinking anything other than that. Here's where the really crazy thing comes in. The next day, Stephen Gregg texted me.
Wow.
And said, hey, heard you've been looking for office space. Heard you're having a hard time finding something that's a fit. I think I've got a solution for you.
Like you said, tell a realtor. It'll get there.
And so that's
wow,
crazy. And so literally, I'm like, you know what? I told Matt, I told my staff, I said, hey, I'm getting together with Stephen again, because I'd met with Stephen almost every year for the 20 years I'd been gone. We always would get together and catch up. Hey, what's happening in the industry? What's going on with you? What are the hot topics?
Yep.
What can we help each other with? We have always been friends.
Yep.
So that never went away. Even though we were friendly competitors, but we still were very like-minded in how we thought about things. And let's face it, I grew up with Keller Williams. That was the beginning of my career. So I feel like I fashioned a lot of my office after the things that I loved about Keller Williams.
Makes sense.
So it was kind of like, I thought, you know what, when we met this last time in January, I started thinking about it. And you know what? During the meeting, I went into the meeting laughing, telling my staff, oh, it's another meeting with Stephen Gregg. And then I came back to the office and I said, you know what? After 20 years of meeting with this guy, I feel differently this time.
Wow.
And so they're like, you know what? I think she's serious.
Wow.
And so for whatever reason, and again, did it factor in that things were, last year was a little bit of a tough year?
Sure.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It factored in, but it was really more the timing and kind of how, I'm a big believer in God and the universe and all that kind of stuff. And it was just kind of like a sign that just led me to this path. And I just felt like it was just that. And that's why for a lot of the agents at the office, it was a little bit of whiplash because they knew we were moving. Mm-hmm. It was no secret because we had made it. I mean, it was known on the street.
Oh yeah. You were about to sign it.
Everybody knew we were not going to be staying in that office. So that was a known thing. What none of us knew, including myself, is that we were going to be going back to Keller Williams, Legacy. So again, it just, once I met with Stephen and I started thinking about it, I thought, you know what? All the things, and Stephen there's so many things I love about Stephen Gregg, but I mean, just the way he runs the office, and the team, I've gotten to know the team leader, John Totten. He's amazing. And so the group of agents, and I've known and I've done deals with them for so long. And then when Stephen offered me an opportunity to have an ownership role in Keller Williams Legacy, I was like, oh man, okay. Yeah. Now this is something that I feel like I love the idea of, because it had been obviously on me for 20 years.
Sure.
I love the idea of sharing responsibility
Makes
with
sense.
other like-minded
Individual,
individuals.
absolutely.
And when I heard who the other owners were going to be, I'm like, oh my gosh, this would be amazing, because the other agents were so awesome. I just genuinely, I can honestly say 100%, I absolutely adore every owner
That's
at Keller
awesome.
Williams Legacy. And that's a lot,
Yes, it
because
is.
again, you can't say that at a lot of different places.
You've got
And
different
so-
personalities.
all
You've
of
got
that.
different agendas.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Yes. And so there's a large group of us, but I just adore them all. And so that was really, I think, if I had to pick one thing that I think kind of drew me, it would be Stephen and the group that he had put together, the ownership group that he had put together. And so I feel like that was kind of what it just gave me peace. It was like I made that decision, and you would think I would be so kind of freaking out about it.
Right.
I really wasn't. And that's what made me think, you know what? This is what I need to do, because
feels right.
it feels right. And almost a year later, I'm so happy.
Great
it's
decision.
like, it's allowed me to kind of like spread my wings. And like you mentioned earlier on, do the podcast, do some of the other things that I've been wanting to do,
Yeah.
but just couldn't do.
It makes perfect
I just
sense
had too
because
much
of
on my
all
plate.
the responsibility that you
Yeah.
were holding.
Yeah. So it's so fun to be able to really, pour my heart into McNair Custom Homes, pour my heart into the podcast, pour my heart into my own, real estate book of business, that kind of thing. And mentoring. I love mentoring. I love helping other agents. And so that's been fun. So I've done some teaching, and I teach a class on relocation.
Okay, very good.
I do the relocation certification class, so that any agent that takes it, it's a long class. It's 4 different classes of 2 hours each, but then they get their relocation certification. And then that way they are certified to work relocation business. So that kind of thing has been fun for me to be able to give back and then nurture the next generation coming up.
Absolutely. And I think that is going to be the saving grace of this next generation, is folks like you that are open, honest, willing to share, because you're pouring into people that hopefully what you've learned doesn't end with you. Truly.
Yeah.
What's funny is I was thinking as you were saying that and everything, divine intervention, and as I drove by and I saw it as a sign.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Stephen was probably sitting out the window and he saw you drive by real slow and he went, okay, I'll call her tomorrow. I got her. That's awesome. So that you talking about pouring into agents, things of that nature, kind of leads into this next little discussion here. JC, how are we doing on time?
45 minutes in.
Okay, we got about 15 minutes left in this. Let's see, looking at my time before we go into this. Yes, okay. So, as you were mentioning, pouring into agents, things like that, I want to ask you some questions that I want to get your perspective on, okay? So the first one, when you think back to your early years in your career and the biggest challenges that you faced, what are some things that the newer agents potentially facing today that has kind of reoccurred, if that makes sense? Because everything is cyclical, so to speak.
Yeah.
But you being in the business for quite some time,
Yeah.
I can't say that you've been through it all, but you've been through quite a bit.
You know? There's a lot of bodies and skeletons in the closet. Let's just say that. Yeah,
That's right.
The pile is getting very high.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Oh gosh, there were so many things that I feel like I had as a challenge in the beginning. I feel like one of the biggest things for me, and I don't know that all agents experience this, but for me, one of the biggest challenges for me is I tend to take on whatever my clients are going through.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes, I'm a bit of an empath in that regard. And that if somebody is fretting about this, I fret with them. And so if somebody, if I have a listing that hasn't been selling,
Right.
I really it is my personal, I take it personally.
Yeah.
It's like it's my house not selling. And in fact, I almost wish it was my house not selling rather than theirs, because I feel like the pressure on me is less when my house is not selling. And so I feel like in this market, a newer agent, because let's face it, depending on when the agent came into the business, if they came in during 2022,
They have no idea what's going on.
sense
That's
because
right.
they would walk out the building and a buyer would hit them from the ceiling.
That's
you know what I
right.
mean? It's raining buyers. Oh my God.
That's right.
I'm just like,
Grab a net.
Get my umbrella.
That's awesome.
And so I do feel like that mentality, they're like, oh, this is easy. Oh my gosh. It's like, I just throw my
That's right.
line in the water and here's fish on. Oh my God, I've got 4 fish on. How did I get 4 fish on with one hook?
That's so true.
And so they it's like drinking from a fire hose, right? You're like,
Yep.
I can't. And so they were like, they had all the business they would want. They just had to figure out how to manage it, which was challenging. I'm not going to say it wasn't challenging, but I feel like now, I feel like in a year like 2025, in fact, we're going to get T-shirts that said "I survived 25" because
That's true.
That's kind of how I
We're
feel.
still here, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Amen to that. Amen to that. So, but I feel like we're kind of back to the basics. I feel like if an agent did not get solid in their foundational understanding of this business and industry, they're going to struggle. Because I feel like in the beginning, once you have a strong foundation, you can build off of that. And I feel like weather a lot of storms with going back to that foundation, looking back. But I feel like a lot of the newer agents, they never got that foundation built.
You are on the money. On the money. Matter of fact, those of you listening, continue to stay tuned because next week's episode is actually discussing back to the basics with a different real estate broker and a mortgage broker. But let's get back to this. And now that is something that agents have or will experience, something that you have experienced, what do you think is something that agents will never experience in today's market that you had in your career, if that makes sense?
Oh, gosh.
It can be technology based. I mean, and anything out there that they probably will not encounter.
I don't know that they're going to have the same kind of personal interaction that I got to have when I just started out because there wasn't the technology. I mean, I've got to tell you, when I was first in the industry, we were excited to have a fax.
Yeah.
No, I'm not kidding.
I believe you.
No. I mean, back in the day, how they delivered the listings, there was a truck that went around to all the brokerages and would take the latest pictures of the listing, to all the different brokers and stuff like that. And then, of course, came faxes because then they would fax all the new listings over and you put it in the book up front,
Well, to your point, a bit ago, you were mentioning at the beginning of this that when you moved to deciding to do your own thing, you had your office. And one thing that you said, you had your printer fax.
Yep.
You said that.
I did.
So you're on the money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
that's
so
a big deal.
And so with the technology, which again, we're all sitting here with our phones within arm's reach, right?
Yep.
And I couldn't do without mine.
Nope.
But we didn't have that back then. And I think that it's a blessing and a curse. I think the technology is a blessing for sure, but there can also be a curse side of it because I feel like because of technology, we don't have the personal interaction with our clients and even other agents.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
Because
do.
back in the day when I first started, I mean, I love some of the, the pillars of our industry. I loved being able to get together and talk with them on the phone and we would share stories and stuff like that. And I feel like, we do stuff on social media and, whatnot.
It's very impersonal.
It is. It's very impersonal. It's not the same as the two-way dialogue, and I feel like that's kind of lost in the industry right now. We don't have that level. And I don't think we have it with our clients either.
Agreed.
Which is why I think so many clients out there are Googling or AIing, Chat GPT, Claude, whatever it happens to be. They're finding out that way rather than having a two-way conversation with an agent who has years of experience that although, believe me, AI, I get it. I understand there's a place for it, but sometimes there are nuances that only a seasoned agent can truly understand and help you kind of navigate.
Absolutely.
Without just going again and trying to figure it out on your own on a text.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, there is something about having a conversation and getting to hear the emotion and the passion that comes through in those responses.
Yeah.
It makes a difference in their mind, in their beliefs, and how they make their decisions to move forward.
Absolutely. Because sometimes it's not the words that you say, it's the inflection
right.
that you use. It's the way that you say things that I think a buyer or seller can better understand. Because when you're just reading it without the true, again, explanation coming through words, I feel like then you're just interpreting it how you interpret it. And that cannot necessarily be the proper way, or maybe it's not the answer you were looking for. You just don't know it.
That's, I had never thought about that. The conveyance of those responses to the consumer basically being read versus I'm telling you the experience.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because I feel like being able to share, hey, this is, you know what, Mr. Seller, this is what my concern about this offer is, because I had this deal very similar to this, and this is what happened. So this is a cautionary tale.
That's right.
I'm just going to give you this example so that you can relate it to your own situation. Doesn't mean you don't do it.
Right.
But I want you to at least do it with the knowledge of what potentially could happen, so that if this does happen, you're not furious, losing it, saying, oh my gosh, why didn't you tell me that this could happen? It's like, well, in this case, I am telling you this is possible. Doesn't mean it's going to, but it might. And I don't want you to be blindsided. But I feel like it's that interaction of being able to have that two-way conversation so that you can give them an answer, but then they can ask a question about that answer, and then you can further elaborate it. And yes, I do understand you can do that somewhat with AI, but it's still not the same. And I feel like the education process with clients is just different now with AI.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Truly. And I think that it is a big shift in the way our industry is going to have to adapt to this new clientele.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily a new clientele. It's just the clientele of before equipped with different tools, different accesses.
Which makes them different clients.
Absolutely,
I mean, it might be like you said.
No, you're right.
It's the same people, but they're not necessarily the same clients.
That's true.
If that makes sense.
It does, yeah. It absolutely does.
I do think it's an interesting time that we're living in, for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. So as we finish this thing up, we're probably, about 50 minutes? Looking good?
Yeah, right. 6 minutes till an hour.
All right, we're good. We're good.
It only feels like 25 minutes.
Yeah, right. It really does.
Loving it.
So as we're looking ahead to 2026, and I'll let this be the last question before the final questions. I'm doing a thing now at the end of the podcast where I do rapid questions.
Okay, cool.
Quick answers, quick.
Oh my gosh.
And then we go.
Okay, I may need more champagne.
But we're not there yet.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Okay, let's see here. As we roll into 2026, what do you believe successful agents and brokerages will be doing different than before?
I feel like there needs to be more, again, personal connection, more personal interaction. And I mean, using technology, but using technology in a way that I feel like is more user friendly.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just, we've got to stop hiding behind the technology curtain. And I feel like we've got to reach out and just connect more with other human beings.
Yeah.
And whether it's you and I working together on a loan, whether it's myself and a seller, I just feel like there needs to be more interconnection between the two people involved in a deal. And that's true of everybody in the transaction.
Yeah.
So I feel like there just needs to be more of that rather than less.
So in short, utilizing technology as a tool instead of a replacement.
100%. That's it. What you just said, that's it. Yes.
And I think I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I am an advocate for the technology. Matter of fact, we built an app, launched a mobile app just recently that is based on that concept. But it is not intended to replace the loan officer.
Exactly.
It's not intended to replace the realtor.
Exactly,
it's
like
to
you said.
Enhance them.
Enhancement, yes. To make something better, to make the experience better, not to replace it and make it a completely different, experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's time for the new segment, rapid fire questions.
Okay. Oh my gosh. I better take another drink.
You might as well. Yep. I'm going to take one too. Matter of fact, before you kill it, this has been great, by the way.
Yes, this is awesome.
Okay, so here we go. First is going to be the segment of career and industry.
Okay.
First question.
Okay.
First real estate lesson you learned the hard way.
Oh gosh. Be transparent with people. I think just literally if you go into their house and it doesn't look good, don't tell them it's amazing and, just expect it to, it's not like a fine wine. It's not going to get better with time. I mean, if that house is a wreck, it's still going to be a wreck when the photographer shows up,
right.
And so I feel like I was early on, I was too just wanting, I'm a people pleaser.
Yeah.
So I feel like just, and again, say it with flowers.
Yes.
I'm not saying hit them over the head with a sledgehammer.
Sure.
But again, I feel like if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. You need to call it a duck.
That's right.
So,
That's
anyway,
right. I like that. One thing that agents tend to overcomplicate.
Oh gosh. I don't know. That's
We can go to the next.
No. I mean, I just feel like showings. I just feel like everything about showings, I feel like they overcomplicate it. It's really not that complicated.
Yeah.
I just feel like be professional, set up the showing time, set up a showing window, make it an appropriate window. Don't be a listing agent that gives you a 15-minute window on a vacant property. Just don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
I feel like agents these days make showing so complicated because they don't set up the showing time window properly, or they don't, if they're showing clients, they don't give feedback. They're not being professional. So that's my beef is I just feel like the whole showing part of it, whether it's on the listing side or the buyer's agent side, I feel like they complicate it to make
That's a
it
great answer. Yeah, absolutely.
more complicated.
What's one thing that agents underestimate?
The access to knowledge that their sellers have
Hmm.
to call them on their
BS.
BS.
That is fantastic. Yes.
Yeah.
I won't even go down there because that's a whole podcast discussion right
It
there.
is,
Wow.
but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next one. Biggest misconception customers have about real estate in general.
The biggest question that
Misconception.
misconception.
Yeah, misconception.
Misconception. That it's easy.
Mm.
That I feel like everybody feels
Yes.
like, oh, they drive around fancy cars and they just roll through the Frost Bank and drop off their check and then they fly off to, Mazatlan and it's just all fun and games. And literally, I honestly, and this is, my husband was in the Army for 27 years.
Yep.
And he now has been in real estate for over 10. And he said, real estate is just like the Army, only without the bullets.
Ooh.
And so, I mean, he said the amount of stress, he said, I've never seen an industry that drinks as much as the Army does, except for real estate
So
agents.
true. Wow.
And so he said this industry, he said the amount of stress, because we're handling people's largest investment.
Absolutely.
And for those of us, which I think to a great extent, a lot of the great agents, they do care.
Yeah.
They absolutely care. And when you take that on, the responsibility is overwhelming. And I feel like that can be extremely stressful. And I think they have no idea how much care that we take in protecting and honoring our fiduciary to our clients.
Absolutely.
And so I feel like that's a misconception. They think it's easy and we're just cruising around making all this money. And it's just not the case.
And I want to echo what you said. To be a great agent, I believe you have to care. There's only a certain point that you can fake it till you make it. And then everybody can see through it.
Yes. Yes.
So last question on that segment, and then we're going to go even rapid fire.
Okay.
Skills that matter more than the market condition as a realtor.
Communication.
Perfect. Okay. So now on to the business and leadership portion. And this is one or the other.
Okay.
Solo agent or team model.
Team model.
Okay. Systems versus hustle.
Hustle.
Love it. Your brand versus referrals.
Your brand.
Perfect. Coaching versus experience.
Experience.
Love that too. Growth versus stability.
Stability.
Okay. That one I didn't think was going to be that. Okay.
Yeah.
Stability.
Yeah.
Even though you're a rock star and a runner and a gunslinger.
I don't know about that, but yeah, but I want to be stable.
I love it. Okay. We all do. We're trying. Okay. Here's the last little segment here. Market and finance. And it's going to be, would you tell folks to buy now or wait?
Oh, by now.
Okay. Marry the house, date the rate. Do you agree with that?
Yes, but with a caveat.
Let's go.
Okay. I feel like absolutely, if you find the house that you absolutely love, buy it now.
Mm-hmm.
Don't force yourself. If you're not finding the house that you truly love, I don't feel like you should feel the pressure to accept something that's not going to be a fit for you. So I do feel like once you find that house, because you can always refinance it down the road.
Yeah.
So it's about finding the right house whenever that happens to be, but don't not find the right house right now and go, no, I'm going to wait. Even though this is perfect for us, the interest rates are just not as low as I want them to be. I'm going to wait. I've seen clients do that. And then what happens is they can never find the one that got away.
Oh, that is a great point. Yes.
And so it's like forever, I'm going to be showing them literally till they're on Social Security because they literally cannot find and replace that home that they let get away because they didn't want to jump in because they felt like the rates were still too high.
You're right. And we'll leave this the last one, and you can give great insight to this because you have been both. The best long-term wealth builder, real estate or owning a business?
Real estate.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
I feel like you have more, I feel like real estate offers you more latitude.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, owning a business, again, I love it. It's great. But I feel like real estate is for everyone, so to speak. I feel like, and so I think
it's possible for anyone. You're
exactly,
right. Yeah.
Which is why I love it because I feel like it's more attainable for the masses.
That's right.
And so I feel like that would be my pick.
I like that. Yeah. I mean, and I have to agree with it, having done both. Most of the time, real estate doesn't talk back.
Right.
Doesn't give you any BS, you know? It's true.
Exactly.
We got to keep our sanity somehow.
Yeah, I'm into that.
Kimberly, this has been awesome. It's been quite, go for it.
If you don't mind, I got one for both of y'all.
Please.
One question.
Yeah.
Being it's the new year.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people, they have their resolutions.
Okay.
There's probably maybe some listeners or people out there that are thinking about making a career change. Mm-hmm. Being on y'all's expertise, y'all seen the highs and lows and on the current situation. What would you tell someone that says, hey, it's a new year. I've been wanting to make a career change. I'm looking at getting into this real estate thing or this lending thing.
I'll go first.
Based on both your sides, what would you tell them or advise them to do moving forward?
Mine is super simple and sweet and to the point. It is not as orthodox as you may want to hear at the moment. But if you're going to jump in with your whole ass. Don't do it half-ass. Period.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Can you say that to the power of 10?
That's right.
No, that is so true. And honestly, I've got to just, repeat what you said because I do feel like whatever you're going to do, and if you want to get into real estate, absolutely I think that's a great plan. But you've got to do it with your whole being. You can't just do it part-time. I know a lot of agents are like, I'm just going to dip my toe in the water. And that's all fine and good.
Sure.
But if you're really going to want to be successful in this industry, at some point you are going to have to take that leap because there's no way to adequately long-term help people again, just part-time. I feel like
totally
you've got to become that full-time professional. And again, I'm not against people doing it on the side in the beginning. And that way they decide, hey, do I even want to do this? Is this something that I even want to do long-term as my main profession? But I think at some point, if you really want to take it to the next level, you're never going to do that if you're, selling cell phones.
No, I agree. And I'll add to that. The idea of being a realtor, being a lender, in my opinion, it is a profession. We are in an industry that requires you to know your stuff,
be on your game,
be able to apply that and to be able to lead these customers to the finish line or to accomplish their goals.
Yeah.
And I look at the perspective of those that are part-time realtors, part-time lenders, and I think to myself immediately, do your customers know?
No, absolutely. Because if your client's hair is on fire, you better be ready with a bucket pretty much whenever they need that. Yeah. And if you've got another job and another commitment, that's going to be tough to do.
I agree.
So,
no, good point. Well, Kimberly, this has been awesome. Catching up with you.
This is amazing.
Getting to know more. That's been great. So is there anything that you would like to tell our listeners as we finish off 2025, roll into 2026? What is some things that you're, I do not like resolutions. I'm with you. I'm with you. I don't buy into that crap. You're either going to do it now or wait until
I would just
you call it a resolution, and then 4 months later, 3 weeks later, it's something.
Or the next day,
that's right.
You wake up and it's already out the window.
That's right.
No, I'm with you 100% on that. I would just tell people to again, if you're looking to do if you're looking to buy or sell real estate, call a professional such as yourself for a loan. Call me if you're looking to sell a house or you're looking to buy a house, but call a professional person that can advise you. Don't listen to the media. Don't let that get in your head. Yeah. Call somebody who is an expert in that field, whether it be lending, whether it be real estate, whoever that might need to be. it just needs to come from the expert, not from the person that's talking, from the news outlet.
That's great advice. And for those of you out there listening, I'll piggyback on what Kimberly was saying here and in regards to seek out an expert, a professional. And when you do think that you found one, ask the tough questions. That'll kind of tell you whether they have cut their teeth in the right areas for the right amount of time. And it doesn't mean that folks that haven't been in the industry a long period of time aren't your expert. There are plenty that are students to the game that believe in what they do and love what they do with a passion. But as we jump into this 2026, my goal is to continue to provide you guys with incredible, fascinating discussions just like we had here. And I'm hoping that we continue this growth and trajectory on the subscribership. Really appreciate you guys. JC, if you can throw up, let's see here, boom. We are now at 34,600 subscribers and growing. I want to appreciate and thank you guys for continuing to follow on this. So that being said, if you got something out of this discussion, please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification. We come out with new episodes every Wednesday, new discussions, new guests. And if you have any topics that you'd love to hear about, shoot us a message. We're open to taking feedback, and we'd love to give you guys more of what you're asking for. That being said, we will catch you on the next one.
Monday, get better. Tuesday, get better. Wednesday, get better. If you do that for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, how much better will you be? Are you getting better every single day? That's the real question. And it all comes down to taking small steps. You don't have to accomplish everything in one day or even 1 week. Just focus on getting a little better every single day.